Hello, my name is Orlando Hernandez, HSE Manager for Flinco. Thank you for watching Flinco's Site Safety Orientation video. We will be covering 8 topics that we hope you will find informative and beneficial. Topics include Flinco for Life and the 4 R's, Personal Protective Equipment or PPE, Task-Specific PPE, Emergency Action Plan, Daily Work Material and Equipment, our Pre-Task Planning and Work Permits, Daily Inspection and Documentation, and Flinco's Equal Opportunity and Anti-Discrimination Policy. We will be reviewing the practices and Flinco's job site requirements to help you and those working around you stay safe. At the end of each section, you will be asked a few questions about the information presented. At the conclusion of the video, we will ask that you take a short quiz. You must answer all of the questions correctly. Once we completed the orientation, please upload your safety orientation registration and other personal or company certifications to the Flinco Trade Partner Portal. A QR code will be sent to you via email that links to your safety orientation registration. Save the QR code on your phone and have it with you when you arrive at the Flinco job site. Have questions about registration, the Trade Partner Portal, or the QR code? Please contact your local Flinco HSE representative. The number one priority at Flinco is safety. Our goal for everyone associated with a Flinco project is that they go home the same way they arrive. Our Flinco for Life culture, live incident-free every day, is grounded in the 4 R's. First, recognize the hazard. Next, reach out, raise your voice, and do it right. In the next section, we will talk more about our Flinco for Life culture and the 4 R's, which are the foundation for our safety program. Flinco for Life, live incident-free every day, is the name that we've given our safety program. We continuously explore how people think, feel, and relate to safety, and the role Flinco has in providing a safe work environment. As you begin to work on a Flinco project, the first thing to remember is do not work alone. Working together helps ensure that someone always has your back. Working as a team also helps keep everyone accounted for in the event of an emergency. As I mentioned, the 4 R's are prominent in our safety culture. Let's take a moment to break each one down and analyze its meaning. The first R is recognize the hazards. This is part of the pre-task planning, a requirement on all Flinco job sites and a topic we'll cover in more detail. Identifying and documenting risk is fundamental to working safely. The second R is to reach out to your coworkers and get to know them. The Flinco for Life program and mindset gives us the tools to communicate more effectively about the essential role safety plays on the job and at home. The goal we share at Flinco is to make sure everyone goes home safely. The third R is to raise your voice. Flinco has a stop work authority policy. If you see something unsafe or not right, you have the authority and responsibility to raise your voice and stop work. Everyone on a Flinco job site is empowered to stop unsafe work when they see it. The fourth R is to do it right. Taking shortcuts or cutting corners during construction to save time can lead to serious injury or worse. Let's take a few minutes and watch a clip from a video produced by Flinco called The Shortcut, which is a true story of personal survival and the life-changing consequences from not doing it right.
I love being out in nature and being on the deck of that bass boat.
Yes.
That's one of my driving forces to make sure that I do the right thing for the right reasons in the right situations. What about you?
You know, laid up in the hospital, being all blowed up. Didn't know if I was ever going to be able to do any of this stuff. Not just fish, but be with the kids or do their sports or show them how to do this, you know. Let them experience this.
How do you think it affected Sandy with everything?
Oh gosh, it was detrimental to her.
You know, my wife, we've been married now 38 years. And to know what I did, taking the shortcut I did to put her and my family in that situation.
You had 2 young boys at the time. How did you tell them what had happened to their dad?
When I hung up and told them, the youngest was, is he dead? Is Dad dead? And gosh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one to hear.
I I don't remember any of that. I woke up and having everything with staples all over my body. There's staples everywhere. My shirt was burned off of me. It was gone. I had a trophy.
Personal protective equipment, or PPE. Flinco has minimum requirements for personal protective equipment for all employees, regardless of a project's construction progress. To start with, hard hats. Z87.1 approved safety glasses. Prescription safety glasses shall be Z87.1 and have side shields. High visibility vests or clothing must be worn at all times. Shirts must have a minimum of a 4-inch sleeve, minimum of cut level 2 or task appropriate gloves, and work pants or jeans that are free of tears and holes. Work boots made of highly durable materials, including leather, nylon or rubber. Boots must also be above the ankle with non-slip soles. And Department of Transportation regulations apply when working in roadways. Each task in construction is unique and could require specific PPE. Next, we will review several different scenarios to illustrate what we mean. Exposure to noise at or above 85 decibels for an extended period of time can cause hearing loss. Flinco requires that you choose and wear the right hearing protection for the task. The 3 most common types are earplugs, earmuffs, and semi-inserted earplugs. Questions? Ask your Flinco HSE representative for assistance in choosing appropriate hearing protection. Wearing the right respiratory protection is a Flinco policy and must be followed. Respiratory protection filters or purifies air from excessive dust, silica, and other contaminants. Using respiratory protection requires pre-planning, producing a written program, completing specialized training, and documenting fit testing. Ask your Flinco HSE representative for guidance if respiratory protection is needed. Proper methods of fall protection must be used when exposed to a fall 6 feet or greater. We know that more than 60% of elevated falls are from a height of less than 10 feet. Completing proper training with documentation is required anytime a personal fall arrest system, PFAS for short, is being used on a Flinco job site. While working on a scissor lift or mobile elevated platform, you must use a self-retracting lanyard, SRL, yo-yo, or a 4-foot lanyard or tether. Prior to use, always visually inspect the stitching, D-rings, lanyard, and pull your yo-yo 3 times. Most PFAS include a card for inspection and documentation. You and your team must document a fall rescue plan included in your pre-task plan prior to starting a task requiring the use of a PFAS. Your fall protection system must be adjusted to prevent a worker from a 6-foot free fall or contact from a lower level by one of 4 methods. A tether attached to an approved anchor point, a positioning hook connected to an approved anchor point, a lanyard connected to an approved anchor point, and a yo-yo attached to an approved anchor point. Don't forget to consider the total fall distance when choosing an appropriate fall protection system. And remember, all lift motors must be shut off after reaching your working height. Reach out to your Flinco HSE representative regarding proper fall protection systems. A face shield is required when grinding, brazing, cutting with acetylene and oxygen, or using any tool or equipment that could cause debris. Face shields are also required when drilling or cutting into concrete and working with chemicals. Please check the Chemical Safety Data Sheet, SDS, that your company has provided to review proper PPE requirements while handling chemicals. Flinco requires a welding hood fitted for your hard hat, fire retardant clothing or leathers, and welding gloves. Use of a soft cap while welding is prohibited. Our no soft cap policy helps protect the top of your head from any dropped objects while welding. Hot work permits, fire extinguishers, and a fire watch are required during welding. Depending on the specific task, a fire blanket may be required. Preventing injuries from electricity starts by following safety best practices. Workers unfamiliar with these practices must complete specialized safety training. This training must be documented prior to starting work. Electrical task-specific PPE may include E-rated hard hats, arc flash suit with hoods, rubber insulated gloves, and leather protectors or arc-rated gloves. Ask your Flinco HSE representative about task-specific electrical training. Many tasks may require specialized PPE to eliminate or mitigate hazards, such as chemical gloves, a Tyvek suit, and metatarsal covers as an example. The best way to identify task-specific PPE is to carefully review your pre-task plan. While uncommon, emergencies can happen such as tornadoes, fire, structural collapse, or chemical spills. Flinco management teams are trained to implement the Job Site Emergency Action Plan, or EAP. Knowledge of the site EAP helps Flinco do a better job of responding during emergencies.
Knowing the basics of your site-specific EAP can greatly reduce injuries, ensure the safety of the job site visitors, and minimize property damage. Ask your Flinco HSE representative about the EAP in your job site. Back to you, Orlando.
Building layout, geographic location, and the site logistics all impact the EAP. Emergency response recommendations can be very different depending on the threat. Fires and tornadoes, for example, have two very different responses. A fire evacuation means getting everyone out of the building, while for a tornado, the goal is to get everyone inside the building. In the event of an active shooter, sometimes it's best to hide inside the building, while other times it's best to get out. As part of your site orientation before starting work, you'll be briefed on site logistics and the site-specific emergency action plan. Pre-test planning, or PTP, is an essential and mandatory step in staying safe on the job. Everyone must complete a pre-test plan daily, review it, and discuss it with everyone affected in a common language. Completed pre-test plans must be signed by the team performing the work and submitted daily to a Flinco supervisor. A proper PTP must include the following: describe the sequence of each task involved, note the potential and existing hazards, list the tools involved in the required PPE, plan the necessary steps to eliminate or mitigate the hazards, and finally, identify and assign any specialized training. The most important part of the PTP is that everyone involved in the task participates in creating it. In 2018, Flinco adopted a company-wide stretch and flex program to help minimize muscular injuries. When properly done, stretch and flex can reduce injuries for all employees. Daily huddles are fundamental to effective communication and are typically held at the start of each day. They help trade partners coordinate activities like safety, sequencing of work, schedules, deliveries, change in site logistics, or anything that has the potential to impact workflow. Flinco has a clean-as-you-go policy to manage debris. We know that a clean job site is a safe job site. Having a clean job site benefits all trades in all areas. General housekeeping on Flinco job sites happens on a continuous basis. Cleaning as you go prevents slips, trips, and falls by keeping walkways, stairs, access, and egress points clean. Follow the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, take 20 seconds and look 20 feet around you. Ask yourself, what can I do to make myself and my area safer? Flinco strives for a nothing-hits-the-floor approach to housekeeping. All materials must be staged and stored in a container, on a pallet, dunnage, or pipe rack. Materials should also be staged in an area where they are to be installed. All materials, equipment, and tools must be secured so that they cannot be moved by wind or other environmental forces. Completing a pre-test plan is required before starting any type of work. Remember, anytime motorized equipment is used, a valid equipment operator's license must be provided. Have a backup plan for any unforeseen or unplanned changes, including weather. Stored materials, vehicles, and equipment must be relocated and made safe in anticipation of severe weather. In this section, we'll discuss pre-task planning for the following topics: hot work, lockout tagout, cranes, confined spaces requiring a permit, silica, motorized equipment, and our ground disturbance SOP. Update your pre-test plan to reflect changing site conditions. Supervisors are required to prepare, review, and maintain the pre-test plan with all workers in a language that they understand. Field personnel must inspect all tools and equipment before use, and personnel must also be trained to perform the assigned task. Engineering controls should eliminate the hazards whenever possible. Some work is of higher risk than others. Flinco's work permit system is designed to minimize exposure during those activities. A permit is required for hot work, which is anything that produces a spark or a flame. The hot work permit must be posted near the hot work zone and must include the signature of your supervisor or foreman. When developing a PTP for hot work, the following should be considered. Hot work must be completed by a trained and qualified person. Assess the work area and inspect all machines, hoses, electrodes, and equipment. Make sure all the necessary tools, materials, and equipment are in place prior to starting work. Combustibles must be kept 35 feet away from hot work or covered with a flame retardant material. Flammables must be kept 50 feet away from hot work or covered with a flame retardant material. Only UL approved metal fuel cans with flame arresters and self-closing pour spouts are allowed on site. Once equipment has been fueled, remove the cans immediately from the enclosed space. Never store fuel cans inside any structure, including trailers and Connex boxes. Barricade the work area to prevent unauthorized entry. Barricades must have tags that include the contact information of the responsible parties performing the work. When working on an elevated platform, the area below must be barricaded and have a fire watch. UV screens must be in place during welding to protect other trades and the public. Use only ABC fire extinguishers and keep them within 30 feet of the hot zone. And remember to always wear proper PPE for any task. The OSHA standard for lockout-tagout procedures require placing a lock or tag on an energy isolating device prohibiting its use. Once locked and tagged, it can only be removed by qualified personnel. It is prohibited for anyone to work on any energized system, including mechanical, electrical, hydraulic, or pneumatic, until the equipment is completely de-energized. Never work on de-energized systems without proper lockout-tagout. Cranes are essential for many of the projects to perform work. A crane plan or PIC plan must be submitted to Flintco's supervision before a crane can be used. You can use Flintco's crane and hoisting SOP for additional guidelines. Critical lifts requiring a PIC plan include lifts at more than 75% of the crane's rated capacity, tandem crane lifts regardless of rated capacity, lifts over active processing pipe, lifts greater than 50,000 pounds unless the client's procedures have a stricter limit, blind picks or when the crane operator has limited visibility, and lifts with long lead time for replacement or when the value of the material could adversely impact the project. Confined spaces are large enough that a worker's body can enter and perform the assigned work. However, the space is limited or restricted for entry and exit. Examples include tanks, vessels, silos, storage bins, manholes, hoppers, vaults, and pits. A confined space is not designed for continuous worker occupancy. A permit-required confined space contains or has the potential to contain a hazardous atmosphere, material that can engulf a person, or a condition causing a person to become trapped because of converging walls or a floor that slopes or tapers downward. Silica is the main component found in sand, quartz, and granite rock. During concrete operations, excessive amounts of silica dust may be generated due to saws, drills, jackhammers, grinders, and milling machines. A silica exposure control plan must be filled out when a task in OSHA's Table 1 is performed. Prior to the start of any activity that may produce silica dust, Flintco requires air test or historical data unless engineering controls are properly implemented, wet materials and surface before cutting, chipping, grinding, sanding, sweeping, or cleaning. Use power tools with a water delivery system or built-in dust extraction to capture dust. Respirators are required as specified in OSHA's Table 1 or where exposures are above the permissible exposure limit and are likely to persist. Ground disturbance is any work requiring a ground penetration or any area where the ground is displaced. To eliminate utility strikes, Flintco developed a ground disturbance standard operating procedure, which requires a permit. Multiple permits must be issued for each independent ground disturbance. A drawing must be provided that includes the proposed pathway and underground layouts of all other trades. All soils on a Flintco project shall be treated as Class C. Each work permit issued by Flintco requires appropriate signatures prior to commencing work. Daily inspections of work areas, tools, and equipment are essential in helping to prevent injuries. Damaged or defective equipment must be red tagged and immediately taken out of service. Each worker working in or around an excavation 5 feet or deeper must be protected from cave-in by an adequate protective system. A safe means of access and egress must be provided from excavations regardless of depth at intervals that provide no more than 25 feet of lateral travel. Flintco treats all soil as Class C, which is soil that is not stable. Soils may only be reclassified by a professional registered geotech engineer. The reclassification must be documented and must be specific to a certain work area. Flagging or a suitable warning device is required at least 3 feet from the edge of all trench and excavation work. Spoil piles must be at a minimum 2 feet back from the edge of an excavation. A competent person must be present anytime excavation work is performed. OSHA defines a competent person as someone who is capable of identifying existing and predictable hazards, and who has the authorization to take prompt corrective measures to eliminate them. Excavations over 20 feet must be designed by a registered engineer. All trade partners must conduct and document daily inspections. Documentation of corrective measures with specific actions are provided in the safety files associated with your project. Each trade partner has the responsibility to correct and make safe all safety and health-related deficiencies. Scaffolding must be erected, dismantled, moved, operated, repaired, and inspected under the supervision of a competent person. Scaffold daily inspections must include the following color code system: green, ready for use; yellow, under construction; and red, do not use. All workers using a scaffold must be trained to recognize the hazards associated with it. Scaffolding must be placed on footing that is sound, rigid, and capable of supporting 4 times the intended load without settling or displacement. Mud sills must be used under all supporting legs of scaffolds that are erected but may not be required on a solid concrete base. All scaffolding must be erected, plumb, level, and square, and must be erected per the manufacturer's specifications or by a registered professional engineer. A qualified competent person must inspect and document all scaffolding prior to use. All scaffolding must be tagged in an appropriate manner that is visible for all workers to see. Guardrails must be installed on all working platforms greater than 4 feet. However, Flinco encourages guardrails on all working platforms with a fall potential. All supported scaffold poles, legs, frames, and uprights must include base plates that are secured to mud sills. As noted previously, cranes are a vital part of the construction operation. Before work can commence involving a crane, the following guidelines must be met. A thorough hazard analysis, PTP, and any required work permits must be documented and communicated to all involved parties. Verify crane setup location per plans and specifications, including soil bearing compliance. Swing radiuses must be mapped and included in the site and logistics plan, including coordination with adjacent properties and other construction sites that may have crane activity. All required documentation must be submitted to Flinco's HSE area manager and project director for review. Documentation should include annual crane inspection, operator and rigger certifications, crane location, pick plan, load weights, rigging, and sequence of picks. Finally, ensure the crane and hoisting equipment is the right piece of equipment for the task. Inspect all hoisting equipment prior to use. Work involving the use of a scissor lift or mobile elevated work platform requires the use of a personal fall arrest system. All elevated work must be reviewed by Flinco's supervision. Fire extinguishers that are installed in an aerial or scissor lift must be fully charged, inspected, and tagged. Housekeeping on all platforms must be done continuously to eliminate clutter and trip hazards. All lift platforms must have a unique identification number and the trade partner's name posted in a visible location. All lift platforms must be operated on a level working surface capable of supporting the weight of the lift without the tires sinking into the surface. Do not hang or suspend materials or tools from the outside of the basket. Only approved manufacturer's attachments shall be used. Equipment, including cranes, forklifts, skid steer loaders, aerial and scissor lifts, must have a backup alarm louder than any background noise. All equipment with reverse gears must be equipped with backup alarms, including concrete delivery trucks. The operator must verify trailer chocks, supports, and dock plates are in place prior to loading or unloading. A fire extinguisher is to be mounted on each vehicle and/or piece of equipment. At the beginning of each shift, the operator must check the equipment being used for that day. All equipment that is fitted with a rollover protection system must be equipped with seat belts, worn by the operator and all passengers. Passengers are not allowed to ride on equipment unless a seat with a seat belt is provided. All lift controls and equipment must be tested and inspected before each use. All equipment must be operated per the manufacturer's standard. Training content should include load capacity, instructions, distances, refueling, ramps, visibility, balancer, and counterbalances. Operators of equipment or motor vehicles must have a valid driver's license. Additionally, they must have training for the piece of equipment they are operating. No modifications or additions will be made without the manufacturer's written approval. This includes attachments for lifting personnel, such as extending forks on duck jacks or job-made attachments for aerial lifts. Free rigging to the tines of a forklift is strictly prohibited. Rigging to the forklift must have an appropriate positive locking system or manufacturer's approved fork tine attachment. Load limits on equipment shall not be exceeded at any time. All hand and power tools must be inspected daily prior to use. Tools must be maintained in a safe condition. Any tool not in compliance is prohibited and shall be identified as unsafe by red tagging and locking the controls. All cords on power tools must be inspected each day prior to use to ensure no damage to the outer sheath and that the grounding pin is in place. Guards on tools shall be in good operating order and may not be altered in any manner. Power-operated hand tools must be double insulated or comply with the grounding requirements. Extension cords must be 12 gauge or larger and designated for heavy-duty use. All cords in use must be hung overhead and out of the way of traffic to avoid slips, trips, falls, and pinch points. Pneumatic power tools and hoses must be secured by a positive means at each connection. Only workers with appropriate experience and training will be allowed to operate power tools. Power-actuated tools require training and a certification card from the manufacturing representative. Compressed air hose connection fittings must be safety wired or pinned with a whip check device to avoid accidental disconnection. Sawhorses or workbenches must be used to secure material while using handheld circular saws, grinders, bandsaws, drills, and similar tools. All walkways, ramps, stairways, and access points to ladders must be kept free of debris. All ladders must be inspected daily and prior to use. Ladders that are found damaged must be tagged and removed from service. Aluminum, metal, or wooden ladders are prohibited. Only job-built ladders that comply with ANSI standards will be allowed. Workers must be able to face the ladder and maintain 3 points of contact with the ladder when ascending or descending. Ladders must extend 3 feet above the landing. All ladders must be positioned on a stable surface and secured to prevent displacement. Never carry tools or materials while ascending or descending a ladder. Trash and debris shall be cleaned up and disposed of daily. It may seem like a small thing, but daily inspections can make the difference between staying safe and the potential for serious injury. We care about you, and to ensure your well-being, please observe the following policies. The use of personal cell phones or electronic devices, including radios, Bluetooth speakers, earbuds, or headphones while at work is prohibited. These devices present a hazard or distraction to the user and their coworkers. Use of cell phones is permissible during work hours for company business only. Personal use of cell phones is only permitted during breaks and at lunchtime and in designated areas. Before accepting or making a call, make sure you are not compromising safety. Do not answer incoming calls when operating equipment, driving a vehicle, or performing any job site activity. Only return work-related calls when it's safe to do so. Tobacco products shall only be used in designated areas. Eating or drinking within the building is not allowed, except for water. All breaks must be taken in designated locations only. The use, possession, sale, transfer, acceptance, or purchase of illegal drugs at any time is strictly prohibited. The use, possession, personal sale, transfer, or acceptance of alcohol on the property or while performing business on a Flinko job site is strictly prohibited. Any violation of this policy is grounds for immediate termination and may result in a report to the appropriate law enforcement authorities. No prescription drug shall be used by any person other than to whom it was prescribed. All substances, including over-the-counter medications, must be used only as prescribed or indicated. Concealed or open carry firearms is strictly prohibited on all Flinko job sites. No one shall knowingly be permitted to work while their ability or alertness is so impaired by fatigue, illness, or other cause that they may expose themselves or others to injury. All workers shall conduct themselves in a professional manner. Any harassment of other personnel, horseplay, fighting, or disruptive activities of any kind shall result in temporary or permanent removal from the site. Your mental health and overall wellness is the key to having a successful work-life balance. Flintco and our trade partners will not discriminate against any applicant or worker because of race, color, religion, gender, age, national origin, disability, veteran status, or sexual orientation. Flintco and trade partners will not tolerate discrimination by their own workers towards any project personnel or site visitors. Flintco does not tolerate harassment of any kind. Trade partners will not tolerate harassment by their workers towards any project personnel or site visitors. Flintco considers all graffiti to be an act of harassment and will not be tolerated. Flintco will not tolerate any attempts by trade partner workers to write, paint, carve, or otherwise deface or contaminate the job site property or equipment. This includes the interior and exterior of portable restroom facilities. This concludes our Flintco Safety Orientation video. Thank you for your time and attention. And remember, stay committed to the theme with our One United Team, and we'll keep working safely every day.
Looking out for each other is the key. Showing care can work like a charm. It's the step we can take so that we keep our brothers and sisters from harm. Keep our brothers and sisters from harm. Keep on the healthy side. Let safety be your guide. Keep on the straight and narrow way. Talk it over in your crew so you all know what to do. And we'll keep working safely every day. We'll keep working safely every day. We take pride in how projects have grown, yet our higher responsibilities are to see everyone can go home safe and sound to their friends and family. Keep on the healthy side. Let safety be your guide. Keep on the straight and narrow way. It's effective, you will find, when you keep it top of mind. And we'll keep working safely every day. And we'll keep working safely every day. Let's keep working safely every day.